Welcome to the Veterans Archives podcast, where every veteran story is honored and celebrated. Join us as we delve into the rich histories and experiences of those who have served our nation. You can catch our podcast on all major podcast platforms, as well as every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Reads Across America Radio. At Veterans Archives, we believe your story matters. Visit our website at www.veteransarchives.org to explore more about our mission, discover resources for veterans, and stay updated on upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to engage with our community. Subscribe, like, and share to spread awareness about our veteran stories. Whether you're a veteran, a supporter, or simply curious about the profound journeys of those who have served, Veterans Archives invites you to listen in, learn, and be inspired. Join us as we continue to honor and preserve the legacies of our veterans. Today is Monday, January 13th, 2025, and we're talking with Vicki Cain, who served in the United States Army. So good afternoon, Vicki.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Great. And you?
I'm good.
Good. We're going to start this out really simple. It's going to ask, when and where were you born?
I was born in Big Rapids, Michigan in 1970.
Okay. Big Rapids, not really a big town though, right?
Not really, no. What I remember, I lived there until I was 5. What I remember was big. But when you go back now and look at it, like, it wasn't so big.
It's kind of like visiting your grade school, right? Everything seems so big, and it's not so much anymore.
It's not so big, yeah.
Yeah. So you were only there till you were 5?
Till I was 5, and then our family moved to Drummond Island up in the UP.
Okay. And why did you move to Drummond Island?
I don't know. It was just a thing. I think it was a whim. My parents had this wish of moving up there and owning their own business. And they moved up there. They owned a laundromat. Mm-hmm. Well, I shouldn't say laundromat. It was a commercial laundry.
And what was it like for you growing up? What are some of your earliest childhood memories?
It was fun living there. The swimming, fishing, a lot of fishing, salmon dipping, smelt dipping. We did work in our parents' laundromat, mm-hmm. which wasn't so much fun, but building forts, climbing trees.
This sounds like a lot of outdoor kind of stuff. Yeah. So do you consider yourself like an outdoors person because of that, or?
Not really. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love to go camping, but I still am afraid of the spider or the snake. So.
I guess that's okay.
Okay.
And so you grew up there your whole childhood then, up through school?
Yep, I graduated from Detour Village High School.
And what was school like for you?
Very interesting. Our class only had 25 students, and the entire school, because we had to take the ferry boat every day over from 7th grade to 12th grade. You had to take the ferry boat over to Detour. Mm-hmm. So on days when it would snow or the ice couldn't clear the channel, we didn't have to go to school. Oh. But the mainlanders still had to go to school. So we would get days off and they wouldn't, and it was kind of nice.
So you had a lot of snow days then.
We had a lot of snow days.
Well, that's not a bad deal at all. Mm-mm. And you had brothers and sisters?
I have one brother.
Okay. And is he close to you in age?
Yeah, he's 2 years older than me.
All right. Were you fairly close as kids?
We were, because it was just me and him.
Mm-hmm.
We both were adopted from separate families. So I think that created a bond early on. We're definitely very close now.
Right. Well, that's nice. Do you have any like favorite memories when you were a kid?
Going dirt bike riding with my brother.
Yeah?
Yep.
Like motorcycle dirt bike? Or?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. I used to have this little Honda 70 that I had, and then a Yamaha 100. That was the biggest I ever got, was a 100, but it was fun.
Yeah. So the little Honda 70, was that little Trail 70? Is that what that was? It had like the folding handlebars on it? Okay.
Yeah, but it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a good time. And, what was school like for you?
School was fairly easy. We didn't have the cliques. We didn't have the group that shunned another group. We were so close knit because it was such a small school and such a small community that everybody got along. And so it was pretty, like I could tell you every name of every classmate I had right now. I could probably look at an old picture and name them too. So
that's a little different than some of the larger schools.
yeah, we didn't have like, like they do nowadays, where the bullying and
Right.
things like that. Even back then when I was going to school, they had that, but not with us.
Right. Well, with that few of people in the school, I mean, if you started doing that, there's just not a whole lot of people to.
There's not enough people to make clicks.
Right. Right. Very small ones maybe, but not
Right.
not large ones. Well, tell me a little bit about your parents. So they adopted you and your brother.
Yes.
What were your parents like?
They were both very hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
They loved the outdoors. I know my mom loved to garden. She loved to go morel hunting, mushrooms. My dad, he worked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He was constantly either on the go or in the laundromat till late hours of the night. Vacation was on the island. We'd go camping. I think that's where I got the love of camping. We'd go camping for vacation. But just hardworking people.
And then how often would you take vacations? How often would you not be working?
Well, the nice thing about living there, we were summer, like we only worked during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So in the wintertime, we would travel down to where my grandparents lived, which I had a set of grandparents that lived in Big Rapids and then a set that lived in Albion, and aunts and uncles that lived down here. So our vacation would be once a year in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But in the wintertime, we would take bigger vacations.
Okay.
Like we went to Walt Disney World twice when I was younger.
Pretty good memories of that.
Loved it.
For those listening, Vicki's getting ready to take another trip to Disney here soon. So we were talking about that earlier. So you really got to know, it sounds like you got to know your extended family then through those trips downstate.
Yeah. Yes. Which they're all spread out now. Like, I don't even know where some of my cousins are right now.
Uh-huh.
We're so spread out. I keep contact with about 5, maybe 6 of my cousins. Mm-hmm. And then they just kind of give me updates on their brother or their sister. The ones I was closest to is the ones I'm still in touch with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's nice. And are they all like similar in age then?
They are. We had 2 older cousins, and then we had 2 younger cousins. Mm-hmm. So we were like right in the middle. But yeah, we had an older set of cousins that were just the age where they could drive and we couldn't. So they got to take us places and stuff, which was fun. Take us to the movies and things like that, and to the mall.
And they didn't mind taking the younger kids?
No.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I know that some of my cousins didn't appreciate hanging out with the younger cousins.
They didn't mind.
That is really nice. So did you lived you lived in the UP then, or the Upper Peninsula all the way through school?
All the way through school.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then you said at some point you moved downstate to Albion.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was working on the island, mm-hmm. and there's just not a whole heck of a lot there as far as a future career type thing. So I moved down with my mom, who lived in Albion, mm-hmm. and started working at Spencer's in the mall.
I remember Spencer's. You can buy all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And it was a good job, and I had fun doing it, but it wasn't getting me where I needed to go. It wasn't giving me any structure. It wasn't giving me any discipline. And so I explored the military, mm-hmm. and the Army is what I chose.
Now, why the Army?
I'm not really sure, because my dad was in the Army. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was in the Army. So maybe that's the thing. But I went to the Navy recruiter and didn't like what they were offering. And so I went over to the Army recruiter, and I was ready to go. Like, I wanted to go now. Mm-hmm. And the Army could offer that at the time. So
now, did your dad and your grandfather, did they talk about their time in service at all?
Mm-mm. Not really.
So you just knew that they'd been in, but they didn't really...
I knew they had been in from pictures.
Uh-huh.
That's about it. Yeah, they didn't really talk about it.
Okay. So you go to the recruiter, you figure out, I'm going into the Army. And so what happens from there? Are you in the delayed entry program for a little while?
No.
Or? Okay.
Probably within a month, I was going to MEPS. Went through MEPS, and within 2 weeks of that, I was on a bus headed to Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually headed to the airport in Lansing to go to Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Oh, so very, very quick then.
Very quickly, which is what I wanted. I didn't want to keep sitting on it, because if I may have sat on it, I might have changed my mind.
That happens.
Right.
That definitely happens. So how did your parents feel about you joining the military?
My mother was not happy.
Uh-huh.
My dad was very supportive. Back then when we went in, we had to supply our own. They gave us a list of stuff we had to bring.
Right.
So my dad made sure that I had all that stuff. He came to my graduation when I graduated
Mm-hmm.
from basic. And my mom was supportive via letters and things like that, but she just wasn't happy about it.
Right.
She didn't want her baby girl going off to the Army.
This was sort of still a time in our history where there were women in the military, of course, but it doesn't seem like it wasn't as many.
Right.
It wasn't maybe as accepted
Right.
As it is today.
Yeah.
What about your brother? How did your brother feel about this?
He was very proud of me.
Yeah?
He was very proud of me. I do remember, and this may be jumping ahead a little bit, but I do remember, because I was deployed to Desert Storm, Desert Shield.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother telling me a story that he was bowling, and they had the big screen on the TVs, and they announced the war had started.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd said he fell to his knees and started crying. That's one of my memories that he tells me that. And then there's another one that's quite funny.
Well, let's hear that story.
So back then we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have things like that. AT&T built up call centers out there in the middle of nowhere. They just built these call centers. And then like you would have a food truck at these call centers.
Mm-hmm.
On the menu, it would say hamburger, cheeseburger, all the luxuries that you would try and find at home. So, of course, I ordered a cheeseburger. And I'm talking to my brother on the phone then later, telling him how good this was. I had a cheeseburger. It was the best thing ever. And he's like, Vic, let me ask you something. I said, what? He said, how many cows have you seen over there? I said, very funny. Never thought about that.
So you're pretty sure that wasn't really...
I'm pretty sure it wasn't a beef burger.
Right.
Not sure what kind of burger it was, but it was good.
Yeah, as long as it tasted good, right?
It tasted good. In my mind, it was a beef cheeseburger.
That's all that matters. I remember the call centers. I remember being overseas, and you had to have the AT&T calling cards,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember spending a lot of money
Yes.
to call home at the time.
Yes.
Which you don't even have to do now. It's just picking up a cell phone at this
Right.
point. So let's back up a little bit. I want to ask, you got on your flight, you fly to Fort Dix. I'm sure they picked you up in a bus and
Yes.
drove you over.
Yep.
What was it like for you stepping off that bus for the first time into basic training?
Reality was setting in
Uh-huh.
that I had actually done this, and I didn't know what to expect, and that overwhelming feeling of anxiety kind of took over a little bit because you just didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was in holding for 2 weeks before they built up a company
Right.
to get us going. So that was nice because it was a little more laid back. Kind of got you used to some of the rules and the regulations and stuff, and when to salute, when not to salute, things that'll get you in trouble.
Right. Right. Now, when you're in like that holding company, when they're building up, that can give you kind of a false sense of what basic training is like, can it? I mean, like when your company formed up and you actually started, it was quite a bit different from that.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we didn't get, like, they didn't have drill sergeants.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no yelling in your face. There was no, you're dirt on the bottom of my shoe type person.
Right. Call your mom names, all that stuff.
Right. And when you get to your company, which was quite funny in itself, and didn't realize they try to confuse you.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran us and ran us and ran us and ran us until we were exhausted. Come to find out, where we were compared to where we were going was maybe a football field away. But they ran us about 20 football fields.
That sounds like something the Army would do.
Yep. Yep. Dazed and confused.
Right. And were these co-ed companies, or were these separated?
No, these were separated. We still had separated companies. Now I did AIT, and that was co-ed.
Mm-hmm.
But basic was all female.
Okay. Well, tell me some of your, what are some of the memories that really stick out in your head about basic training? Maybe some of the people or some of the interactions?
Let's take a quick break.
Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on donations from our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and would like to support our continued efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the donate button. Thank you.
So I remember there's a lot of good memories. During it's called the confidence course.
Uh-huh.
I wish I had my, they have like the yearbook type thing. I wish I had it with me. I could show you, but
I'm not going to lie. I was looking at my yearbook the other day.
Where the confidence course, there's like this, I call it a ladder, and you go up, and as you go up higher, the feet and the hand grips get further apart. Mm-hmm. And you're supposed to climb to the top and come down. Well, when I got to the top, I went to go back down and I couldn't reach the bar. So I just sat there and said I wasn't coming down. And 2 drill sergeants actually had to climb up onto that confidence course to get me to come down.
Oh, no.
So then I got the nickname Private Benjamin, which was very comical, but I did fairly well. I did expert in rifle. Mm-hmm. Okay, in the handgun, grenade. Did things like that. That was fun. As far as buddies, I had one, her name was McDonald. She was a smile on her face 24/7. Mm-hmm. And it used to get her in trouble all the time. Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling? This big old smile.
It's just who she was, right? So actually 2 questions. The first one is, I'm guessing that eventually you figured out how to climb up and down the obstacle course.
No.
No?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, the second one is, what was it like to throw a grenade?
Very scary. Mm-hmm. Because you're holding this live thing that could kill you in your hand. But it was exhilarating. Yeah. It was kind of powerful, like what I just did and things like that. So it was fun.
Probably not a lot of your friends back home got to do that.
No, I think out of everybody that I graduated high school with, I was the only female that went off to the military. There were some males that went off into the military, Air Force, Army, mm-hmm. but I think I was the only female.
That's something.
Yeah. Well, again, we were from such a small town.
Right,
so
that's true.
Very rare.
Do you find that a lot of your friends just kind of stayed around your hometown, or did they disperse?
I talk to them on Facebook, and keep contact through Facebook. And now the ones that I talk to, they are still on the island. Mm-hmm. They stuck around. There are a few that moved away down towards Lansing. I have a friend that lives in Kalamazoo, but for the most part, they stayed. Yeah. They ran their family business and things like that.
Yeah. Now, is your family's business still there, being run by anybody else, or it's still on now?
No, it did for a while. Somebody had bought. My dad had sold it, and then my dad had passed away. And just with everything that was the logistics of everything, they ended up just they turn it into something else. I'm not even sure what it is.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was just curious. So you get to basic training. You sounds like you did really well there. And then when you got done with basic, did you come home or did you go right to AIT?
Went straight to AIT.
Okay. And then what was your job?
63 Bravo, which is a light wheel vehicle mechanic.
Okay. So at a time when a lot of women didn't join the military, you joined the military and became a mechanic.
Yes.
Wow. That's kind of pushing it.
Yes.
So to speak. All right. So was your AIT right there at Fort Dix?
It was.
Okay.
Yep. We had some classes at McGuire Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the best days because they're right when they say the Air Force and the Army eat, sleep different. We go to the chow hall for lunch while we were doing AIT, and we got to eat in the Air Force chow hall. And it was like eating sirloin steak compared to chopped liver.
Right. That's a whole different lifestyle.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It certainly is. Now, how long was your AIT?
If I remember correctly, it was 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was 8 weeks. I graduated number 4 in my class. So I got to stay back and get a second MOS, which was a vehicle recovery class.
Okay.
Which was kind of an honor to get that because not everybody got it. Only the top 6 got to stay and get that extra MOS.
Mm-hmm. And so vehicle recovery, that's towing these big vehicles. When we talk about light wheeled vehicles, we're not talking about cars though. We're still talking
No,
about,
we're talking about Humvees, deuce and a halves.
good size machines.
Yes.
So, I got to ask you, you're really, I don't like to use this term, but you're kind of in a man's world at that point. How was that for you? Did that motivate you to try and do better than everybody else? Or are you I'm just trying to get a feel for what that was like. Cause I can't really relate.
I'm not sure how to put it the way that I want to explain it. I paid attention during class, and everything was by manual.
Mm-hmm.
They would show us how to change a battery in a vehicle. Now here's a manual. All you had to do was follow that manual to a T, and you could do it yourself. So it was easy as long as you paid attention to that manual. And then the day before, they gave us the answers to the test the day before.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you paid attention the day before, you're passing the class. And that's probably why I passed so high in the class. I had a good memory.
And you paid attention.
I paid attention. But
Okay.
it was a little difficult at times. They treated the females a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
They got special treatment, things like that, which I did not like.
Right.
But that did happen.
Now, were there a few? So I assume there's a few other women in your group. So it wasn't just you.
No, there was probably 15 of us, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. Did you tend to stick together?
We did. There was one private chapel. I'll never forget. I met her on the bus going to basic.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up going to basic and then AIT together, and then we both got stationed at Fort Stewart. And when we got deployed over to Desert Shield, she was in a different company, but I ran into her over there too. So her and I were pretty close.
Yeah. So it's interesting too. I don't know if this happened to you. Have you run into people that you were in basic or that you had been in AIT with other than her, kind of throughout your time in the military or not?
No, not really. That's the only one that I've ever ran into.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you finish up with AIT. You did really well. You got the additional MOS. And then at some point, did you come home or did you just go right to your unit?
No. At Christmas time, we got Christmas break.
Mm-hmm.
I was still in AIT. I was still in schooling. So we got to go home for Christmas. So when AIT was finished, we went straight to our duty station.
Okay.
Which was in March, I believe.
So what was it like coming home for that first time after being in the military?
It was nice.
Was it?
It was nice. I I had lost so much weight. I was so thin. But back then, I don't know how they do it now, but they made us wear our Class A's to travel in. I don't know if they do that now or not. But so back then it was kind of nice to be in an airport or to be on a bus and, you know, people are like, thank you. Coming home from Desert Shield and Desert Storm was just tremendous, overwhelming feeling. Mm-hmm. But going back to AIT and stuff, yeah.
Okay. And then did you, so you were home for what, 2 weeks then for Christmas?
Yeah, about 2 weeks, yeah.
Okay. Did you see some old friends? Did you, okay. And what was that like, kind of sharing what you're doing and they're sharing what they're doing? And
they were proud of me.
Were they?
They were proud of me. A lot of them, when I did get deployed, a lot of them did end up writing to me and sending me care packages and things like that. So, yeah, a lot of them were stunned just because I didn't seem like the type of girl that would go into the military.
Right.
That, let alone become a mechanic.
Uh-huh.
But they were pretty proud of me. And some of them I've heard one of them wish that they would have done something like that when they were young enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I would have stayed in longer than I did. Now that if I could go back and do it again.
Right. You know, and I think that, like for me, I was in the Navy for just about 10 years, but I missed it. And so I went into the Army National Guard because I liked the military and ended up retiring from there. But yeah, I think a lot of people do kind of get out and then they think, gosh, if I'd have just stayed in, you know, what would that have been like?
And it's funny that you say that because I had two boys at the time, and I was going to sign up for the National Guard myself, going to go back in that way, and I found out I was pregnant. Oh. So they wouldn't take me at the time. And then by the time the third one come around, I'm just like, I'm good.
This is enough work.
Yeah, I'm good.
Right. So you pack up, you go back to AIT and you finish that out and then head to your first duty station. So where was this at?
Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Yeah.
Where it's hot year round, right?
Yeah. It actually snowed there, but it never touched the ground. It was just kind of like a flurry or two once in a while, but yeah, hot. And I had been down south on vacation, like to Florida. Right. But to actually live in that kind of environment was a shocker because I had never done it. I mean, I grew up in the UP of Michigan, so it was a big culture shock for me. Mm-hmm.
And what was what was a daily routine for you when you were there?
PT, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then formation, and then you would go do your job.
You know, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, like when you're in the military, you have a job.
Yeah.
And you go to your job. You do PT, which maybe you don't do like in corporate America. Right. But you go, if your job's to work on vehicles, you go work on vehicles.
Go work on vehicles, yeah.
And so what kind of a unit were you at?
I actually got stationed with a military intelligence unit. Okay. Which when we were over in Saudi proved to be a nice place to be because they were bilingual. A lot of them were bilingual and could speak Arabic, and so they could translate a lot of stuff for us.
So how long were you there before you deployed?
I got there, I believe, in May, and then that August I deployed. Okay, so this all happened very quickly. Very quickly. Very quickly. At first, we didn't think we were going to go. Then we're going. Then we're not. Just this back and forth. And then we started taking our vehicles to the shipyard. So I said it's starting to get real. Right. So. And then, what was it like for you to deploy? It was very, very surreal. Yeah. I think at first it didn't really bother me. I think I was scared. I had that lump in my throat. But it wasn't until you actually set foot in Saudi Arabia that it was like, this is the real thing. Right. And when you're walking around with a loaded M16, you definitely know it's the real thing.
Yeah, it's no longer a drill. It's no longer
Right.
training. It's all those things you would train to do.
Trained to do. Yep.
So when you're in Saudi Arabia, they brought all their equipment with them, I'm
Yep.
assuming. So you're still really doing your job there. You're maintaining the vehicles for them.
Yep.
And
The routine was pretty much the same, other than if you were an enlisted E4 and below, you got what they called. Am I allowed to swear?
you can swear. Perfectly okay. Our audience is used to that.
You got shit duty, where you had to burn the barrels of shit.
Yeah.
And that was, I probably got once a week, maybe my name came up to do that. But other than that, it was a normal day. You did PT, you did breakfast, you did formation, and you went and you did your job.
Right.
Now, if there was anything special, like sometimes if we didn't have any vehicles broke down or whatever, and the company commander needed to ride somewhere or whatever, and his driver was busy doing something else, then we'd step in and do that, which was kind of interesting because I got to go and see different places and things like that.
What would you say was your favorite part of that deployment? I'm guessing it wasn't the shit duty.
No, it wasn't the shit duty. My favorite part. That's hard to say. Getting mail was probably my favorite part. The care packages, the bond, I think that grew. We were stationed like in the middle of the desert, just like any normal duty station. You had your outhouses, you had your showers, you had everything. Well, the day after Christmas, we packed up everything and we lived out of our vehicles from that day on.
Really?
Yes. And so the guy that we drove the field truck. We got assigned to the field truck, which was not fun to think about, but him and I grew a pretty good bond. Potter was his name. I'll never forget him. And he had kids at home, and he used to worry about his kids, and he used to show me pictures and things like that. We established a pretty good bond.
Yeah. Now, you weren't married at this time, right?
No, I was.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I was.
All right. So before we go any further, how did you meet your husband?
In the military, of course.
Yes. Were you stationed together?
We were stationed at Fort Stewart. I met him. We were waiting at the payphones to call a cab because I didn't have a car. Me and this other girl that I had met were going to go rent a hotel room for the weekend because we had a weekend pass and just kind of relax and whatnot. And met him at the payphones. He said, "I'll give you a ride," because he had a car.
Oh.
And then he ended up asking me out. And a couple of dates later, he asked me to marry him, and I said no. And then a couple of days later, he kind of wore me down.
Okay.
I finally said okay.
I feel like things move quickly in your life.
Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah. So did you get married there on base, or did you come back home?
We actually had to go to South Carolina, Dillon, South Carolina, to get married because we did a Justice of the Peace.
Okay.
And they don't have that in Georgia. So we had to drive all the way to Dillon, South Carolina, which is probably about a 2-3 hour drive to do it.
Yeah.
So.
That's commitment.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
Right. Now, at some point, did your parents or your family get to meet him?
His parents came down. My dad came down and my brother came down to meet him. Yeah. And for me to meet his family. And I'm a big Michigan fan now. Go Blue. But back then I didn't really watch a lot of football. I just knew that I liked Michigan.
Yeah.
And my new father-in-law is a Penn State fan.
Okay.
So he brought me this T-shirt that had a Nittany Lion on it. It said Nittany Lion, Penn State Nittany Lions. And I'm like, what in the hell is Nittany Lions? Oh, that was not the right foot to get off with him. He's like, what do you mean you don't know the Nittany Lions?
Right. He expect you to know all about the Big Ten and all about football, right?
Yep, all about it.
Yeah.
I didn't really learn much about that until my kids got into football.
So you got married and then so you deployed pretty quickly after you got married.
Got married in May.
Yeah.
And we deployed in August.
Yeah.
Yep. So we were not married very long.
Okay. And so you're just kind of writing back and forth while you're deployed.
Yep. Talking on the phone.
Mm-hmm. So you got married quickly, but how do you think being apart impacted your relationship?
It wasn't, I realized it wasn't a good decision to make.
Uh-huh.
Just because of the fact that, if my husband was over there, I would have probably wrote 100 times more. I would have sent 100 more care packages, things like that. And he wasn't very supportive because he didn't go over.
Right.
So that put a bad taste in my mouth when I came home.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I had said I wanted a divorce, but then I found out I was pregnant with our first son.
Okay.
So I said I would try and work things out, and we would work through this and raise our son.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit too about coming back, because you said earlier that coming back was like this really good feeling when you came back from overseas. Tell me more about that.
Well, when the ground war was over in the few days that it lasted,
right.
They sent a group of people back home early to get because we had National Guard staying in the barracks and things.
Uh-huh.
So they sent probably about 100 of us home early to get everything ready and stuff for when the whole company comes back. So we flew from Dhahran to Dover Air Force Base. And there was people, with flags, and they had food, and we stopped in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember that. And they had a hangar, Red Cross was there. Got a shower, because I had not had a shower since December, remember?
Yeah, because you were living in your truck.
Yep, yeah. Got clean undergarments and everything. So that felt amazing. Mm-hmm. From Dover Air Force Base, we'd bus to Philadelphia Airport. We flew commercial, and people would just pat you on the back, buy you a drink, thank you for your service, things like that. I wasn't even old enough to drink, and I was drinking. So.
Why not?
And on the airplane, they recognized us on the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty. It was a nice feeling, and then you think about the way they treated the Vietnam vets.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any other choice to be where they were at other than we did,
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of hurt for me. It hurt me to know that they went through that.
Right. To know that what happened to them.
What happened to them, yeah.
Do you think that we learned something?
I think so.
About bringing people home?
I think so.
Yeah.
I really do. People always say that young kids that join the military are the kids that don't have the money to go to college,
right.
Which isn't always true.
Right.
It isn't always true. But the thing is, without those type of people, where would you be today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. I think that one of the things that I do now is if I see someone with a Vietnam veteran hat on, I always go over and welcome them home.
Take the time and do it. Even now, they still appreciate it.
They do.
They do.
They do. I always felt it was a little awkward when people thanked me for my service. I didn't know how to respond.
Right.
But as I've talked to more and more Vietnam veterans, I'm thankful when people are thankful.
Yes. I just say thank you.
Yeah.
You thank me for my service. I thank you. And that's my way of recognizing the fact that you took the time to come over and shake my hand or pat me on the back and, thank me for what I did.
Well, I can tell this really touches you deeply. And I think you're absolutely right that to be thankful for the people who make this country what it is very important.
Yes.
I do want to ask a little bit too about your time. So you were living, I got to ask this question, you were living in your vehicles.
Yes.
This is because the war was over way more quickly than they thought it would be?
No.
Or what happened?
We went on a convoy and drove into Iraq.
Oh.
And so that's why we were living out of our vehicles for that long. If you look at a map now, we seem to take the longest route around. They had us, so that's why we were living out of our vehicles. We weren't stationed just in one spot anymore. We did get water, and then they said you can either drink it, wash with it, wash your hair, whatever you want. But, well, of course, everybody's gonna drink it.
Yeah.
Over there, I did wash my hair once in a while.
Girls got to do what a girl's got to do.
That's right. So.
And was that all just a function of the intelligence gathering or whatever it was your unit was doing? That's why you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then they sent 100 of you back home.
Yep.
And then so what was that like to get back? So I'm just kind of going about what you said, but it sounds like you had realized that this marriage was maybe wasn't the best move you could have made.
Right.
So what was that like for you when you came back?
There was a couple things that got said that will stick in my head forever. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I went back and told you the story about Spain, because I got a shower, got clean undergarments, but we had to put on the same dirty uniform.
Right.
And we flew into Savannah Airport, and the family got to meet, if they were able to, they got to meet us there. And my husband gave me a hug and kind of pushed me away and said, "God, you stink." And so my whole persona just went,
right.
Like, nice to meet you too. And then I'm thinking about all these people I was in contact with all day, and like, did I stink that bad that they could smell me? And, and then just to have him say that was just, it floored me. Mm-hmm. It absolutely floored me to say, for him to say that. Not "Hi, honey," not welcome home. It was, "God, you stink."
Right.
Yeah. So staying in that marriage was very tough. We ended up having 3 boys together.
Wow. We
were separated after the second one, and then kind of tried to make things work, and then I found I was pregnant. That's when I was going to join the National Guard, and found out I was pregnant with my 3rd son. So.
All right. So you come back. That happens. And I don't care if you're a guy or a girl. No one wants to have someone tell them that right when they get home.
Right.
That's just not good. So you got everything ready for your unit to come back, and they came back. How much longer were you stationed there? And did you go someplace else, or did you?
No. Okay. I stayed there until I got out.
Okay. All right. And did you have your first son while you were still in the Army?
Nope. I got out. I found out that I could get out due to a pregnancy. Uh-huh. And I had found myself in a little bit. I got 2 Article 15s. So. Okay.
Do you mind talking about those?
No, that's fine.
Okay. I always want to ask now. Full transparency. I've had my fair share of those too, and I find that some of the best people in the military have had Article 15s. So
right.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, the first one I got was for going AWOL. Uh-huh. I hadn't been able to go home or do anything since I had come back to go see my family, and I put in for leave, had ample amount of leave, and they denied it. So I said the heck with it, and for the weekend I went to Florida, and I visited some family that I have down there. Mm-hmm. Went to Disney World.
Might as well make it worth it, right?
Right. And when it came to, Judgment Day, I was honest with them. I said, yeah, I went AWOL. Yeah, I wasn't here, Mm-hmm. They gave me 2 days of no pay, 2 days of extra duty, and they took rank.
Right.
So.
Okay.
The other one was a little more complex, and this is what really gave me a bad taste about the military and decided for me to get out. Our second lieutenant that we had at the time did not deploy with us. He was brand new to the company. Nobody liked him. Just this young kid, nobody's given him any respect whatsoever.
Right.
But he dropped a generator from a Humvee on my hand. He didn't mean to. It was an accident.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do anything for it. They just wrapped it up. The next day, before formation, how you kind of, gaggle around and you smoke that last cigarette and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the girls had asked me what had happened, and I told her. Well, he overheard the conversation and gives me an Article 15 saying I degraded an officer in front of formation. And that one I fought, and I lost that one. And that just gave me the bad taste in my mouth about being in the military. I'm like, I did something wrong before. I admitted to it. I took my lump like I should have.
Right.
But when I'm right, you're still going to punish me,
Yeah, that's a lump you didn't deserve.
Yeah, it was his word over mine. That's all it was. And they took his word. Probably because he was a lieutenant and I was an E3 at the time because I got demoted.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
All right. So she ended up getting pregnant then.
Yes.
And then you got out as a result of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, did your husband stay in the military?
No, he got out as well. He got out. He didn't get deployed because he had a back injury while he was in, and they wouldn't take him on medical status.
Right.
So he didn't get deployed, and then he got out. He was waiting for me to find out what was going on with me, and he just ended up getting out.
Do you think that the fact that you deployed and he didn't impacted how he treated you?
Oh yeah. I think there was a lot of jealousy. My kids to this day will tell me stories that their dad has told, and they're stories, and they're not true. Right. And I kind of laugh about them. I'm like, your dad didn't even go over there. So where's he getting this story from? He did have back surgery while I was in. So he has a scar. They opened him up in the front and they took bone and they fused it to his back where he had a disc that needed to be adjusted or whatever. But he tells the kids that that's a bullet wound.
So there was some jealousy between your husband and you regarding his service and not having deployed. When you both got out of the service, then where did you go from there?
We moved to Pennsylvania. That's where he was from.
Okay.
I wanted to move to Ohio to kind of make it an in-between thing, so I was close to my family in Michigan and he could be close to his family in Pennsylvania. But we ended up in Pennsylvania and I spent the better part of 30 years in Pennsylvania. Okay.
Now, did you both work or did he work or how did that work?
He worked. He started off working. Mm-hmm. I went back to work when our first son was about 8 months old. I went to work at a daycare and continued doing that, working at daycare all through my second pregnancy. Mm-hmm. And he was still working. And then we had our third son. Now, mind you, we were separated. And he came home one day from work and said he wasn't going back to work. He quit. Yeah, he just quit.
What kind of work was he doing?
Working at the post office.
Okay.
He had a decent job.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to work and worked at the post office, which put a big strain on me and my family dynamics because I wasn't always there for my kids because they had to get babysitters. They had to, it's unfortunate that my ex-husband, he was living with me when I told him that I was going to see a divorce attorney, and we got divorced. He had no ambition to do anything, but kind of my fault. I didn't know him very well when I married him.
Right, that happens. So how long were you married then? Total?
8.5 years.
8.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to back up a little bit and talk about your boys though. So, your first son. What's his name?
His name is Andrew.
Okay. Tell me something about him.
He was in the military.
Okay.
He did 4 years in the Army, stationed in Hawaii, Schofield Barracks. And I could kick myself in the ass for not ever going out there to see him. Because it would have been nice. He got out for about a year and then re-enlisted in the Air Force. So he did total, I think, about 8.5, 9 years in the military. He has a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful babies, my grandbabies, and they live in South Carolina.
Okay. And what does he do now?
He works for some company for logistics.
Okay.
He does logistics, which is kind of what he did while he was in the Army. He did the human resource aspect of things.
Okay. And are you proud? I take it you're proud of him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm proud of all 3 of my boys.
Yeah. Well, I saw your face light up when you said grandbabies. So.
Oh my gosh, they're my world.
Yeah.
They're my world.
Now, and he was born in what year then?
1992.
Okay. And then your second son was born?
In 94, September of 94.
Okay. So just about 2 years apart then?
Yep, because then the third son was born April of 96.
Okay.
Yeah, so every year from 91 to 96, I was pregnant at some point.
Oh my God.
During the year.
Well, tell me about your second son.
My second son, he lives in Florida. He has one grandson of mine. Getting ready to have number 2 in July. He works construction. He loves it, he says. I don't know how he does it in the heat, but he loves it. He's a great father. He was having his challenges in life, and he had that baby, and that baby turned his life around. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what about your third son?
My third son, he lives in Pennsylvania. He's the only one that's still in Pennsylvania. He is the reason why, well, he's not the reason why, but I stayed in Pennsylvania until after he got out of college. He graduated from Shippensburg University.
Okay.
He played football. That's where I got. All 3 of the boys played pee-wee and pony football, and then Stephen went on to pursue high school and things like that, and got, what's the word I'm looking for?
You get a scholarship?
Yeah, he got a scholarship for a D2 school, so. But he lives in Pennsylvania. He has one grandson right now. Pride and joy of him, too. So.
There must be something when you all get together with the grandchildren and the boys. And
we just did it Thanksgiving.
How was that?
Very chaotic.
Yeah.
The age range is 7 years to 10 months of kids. So, but it was fun. I mean, it's well worth it. It's well worth being exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
I got to ask, so if I do my math correctly, at some point you had a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old, all boys under one roof.
Yes.
And I know that you were working as well, but what was that? I mean, what was that like as a mom having 3 boys that are all like very close in age?
Very challenging.
Yeah.
Very challenging. Because 2 would always get along with each other, but not all 3. So you would have these 2 that were getting along, and that one, they were both fighting with this one. And then an hour later, it would be these 2 were fighting against this one. And it was having boys. I mean, I always wished I had a girl. I cried when I found out Stephen was a boy. He was my last one.
Does he know this?
Yes, he does. Where was I going with that? Oh, but boys, there's something emotionally connected with boys that, they say that, a son, his first love is his mother.
Yeah.
I feel that. And with everything I'm going through now, they've been very supportive of everything with that. But yeah, growing up with 3 boys, there was never enough food in the house. The house was always dirty. I don't care how much I cleaned it. There was always dirty clothes.
And they all 3, so at some point they were all 3 playing football at the same time then, right?
Yes.
That must have been very busy.
Yes, it was.
Do you feel like your time in the Army maybe helped you?
Maybe a little bit, helped me be a little more organized and structured and things like that. Yeah, I do. Okay. I really do. I think the military helped me with that in a lot of aspects of life. in the way that I handled situations and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can stir a barrel of shit that's on fire and not completely lose it overseas, I mean, that really does say something, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what did you do at the post office?
I was a mail handler. The trucks would come in with carts and stuff of mail, and we would unload the trucks.
Okay.
And just kind of designate to where they had to go, parcels this way and letters this way. But I enjoyed what I did there. I worked 3 to 11:30. I did not like that because when I first started, I was what they call a part-time flex. So they could work you as little as 4 hours a day or up to 12. And that 12 wasn't like, you didn't know that ahead of time.
Right.
You knew that night. And so I'd have to call the babysitter and I'd have to say I got to work an extra 4 hours. And waking the kids up in the middle of the night started to become a toll on them, let alone me, because then I'd have to turn around and get them up and go to school.
Right.
So their dad wasn't working. I didn't know he would never go back to work. But for the time being, I said, why don't we do it where you have the boys? That way they're going home to their own home after school. They're not going to the babysitters. And that was a hard thing because I saw a lot less of them.
Yeah.
But they know now that, I did what I had to do to pay my bills. I had to pay, and put a roof over my head.
Right.
So.
To some extent, take care of them.
And I take care of them. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So you, did you have a certain amount of guilt over that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. I still do a little bit.
Do your boys help you get past that?
Yes.
Yeah. I have found with my own children that some of the things I feel guilty about, and I talk to them, they either don't remember or they just laugh at me like it wasn't that big of a deal, Dad.
Right.
Like you carry that around, but it really wasn't anything to them.
I think the one that it impacted the most was my middle son.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's faced the challenges he's faced growing up. The other two, I don't know, they're not nonchalant about it, but they're over it. Like we understand you had to work, you had to this, you had to that. So they get it and they're over it. Kind of that, yeah.
Well, so how long did you work at the post office then?
Till 2007. Was it 2007? From 97 to 2007.
Okay. So you were there for a while, 10 years?
I was, yeah. I went with a state job and became a corrections officer at a prison.
Now, were you still in Pennsylvania at that time? Okay.
Yeah.
So you stayed there. Was that because that's where your boys were at?
Yeah.
Okay.
All their friends were there. They were established in school.
Yeah.
And it was hard because all my family was here and, to get the support. But the good thing was I had a good relationship with my in-laws. And they helped out a lot. So,
that's nice.
Yes, very nice. They were there a lot of times when I couldn't, or if the babysitter couldn't babysit, they would step in and take the kids. So.
And your boys had a good relationship with them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you, so when did you leave Pennsylvania then?
2019.
Okay. And so did you retire from the corrections field?
I did. I'm trying to think if it was 2000. It was 2019. Yeah. I retired from the corrections field. I got to buy back my military time and all that stuff. So it was kind of nice to have that opportunity to do that. And financially wise, be able to retire altogether.
Right.
Because the VA was working on my claim and things like that. So.
What was it like working in corrections? I got to ask.
Well, it was a maximum security all-male prison. And the first year, I will not lie, I was scared to death every day of my life. Every day. And then you establish a rapport with the inmates. You learn how to handle yourself with them. How to talk with them. Because you don't have to talk down to them just because they're an inmate,
Right.
You can talk to them just like a person. And that's how you earn their respect, because you want respect from them. But just like anybody else, you have to earn it, you know. But I've seen my share of fights and some stabbings and some other things.
Those guys will test you, won't they?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Now, were there a lot of women in that prison?
At that time, no, I want to say maybe 65, maybe, on all 3 shifts. There wasn't a lot of, now we had nurses and stuff that were female.
Yeah.
But it's in corrections, it was about 60, 65, I would say. I think there's more now than there ever was.
Yeah, it's sort of opened up.
Yeah.
So when you retired, did you immediately leave Pennsylvania then?
Yeah, me and my best friend had this great idea we were going to move to Florida.
I kind of felt like when you giggled that there was a story behind this. I got to hear this story.
Well, my best friend for years, love her to death. She's my ride or die girl.
Uh-huh.
We moved to Florida together, and she bought a place, and so I was just renting from her. And when I got to Florida and we started living together, we found out we could not live together. We were just
oh no.
We were like polar opposite. It's completely polar opposite. And so I ended up getting my own place in Florida. And then when my son got out of the military and decided he was going to stay in South Carolina, I moved up to South Carolina.
Okay.
And that's where I came. Then now I'm here in Michigan.
All right. So do you mind talking a little bit about why you're here in Michigan now and what you're doing at the VA home?
Well, I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
I actually found out in 2021 that I had at the time it was stage 2. Did the surgery, did the chemo treatments, did everything that I needed to do, radiation. And I was in remission for about 1.5 years. Bounced back. I was back to myself. My hair grew back. I, felt great. And then I went for that routine PET scan, and they found that it had metastasized to my lungs. And so I was on hospice and things like that, and I wasn't able to regulate my meds. I'm on morphine and things like that. So it was hard. Sometimes it was hard to be on that type of medication and function.
Yeah.
So I looked at different places. I looked at other VA homes to go to in Pennsylvania near my son, the one in South Carolina near that son, and my brother's affiliated with this one, and he knows the ins and the outs. He knows that I'm going to get good care. He knows that there's not going to be any issues. And so we applied here, and here I am.
Okay. Now, how did you find out initially that you had cancer?
I had jaundice.
Oh.
And I didn't know. Me being me, I was like, it's nothing big. It's no big deal. I'm Googling, what causes your eyes to turn yellow and things like that, because that's mainly where I could tell it was at. And they said go into a tanning bed without the goggles, which I did. So I'm like, oh, that's all it is. Then I hadn't been able to go to the bathroom for about a month, and the jaundice was causing all that back. It was causing it to back up, and so that's how they found it.
Okay. And what was that like for you and your family to find that out?
Devastating.
Uh-huh.
At first, I didn't know much about pancreatic cancer. You don't hear a whole heck of a lot about it.
Right.
So then I started reading, and they say people with pancreatic cancer or who are diagnosed with pancreatic cancer have a very short lifespan. And I'm going strong for 4 years.
Yeah, I was going to say when you said that I was going to get you a tissue.
Over there.
Okay. just set the box right over here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm sorry if these questions upset you.
No, it's okay.
But it sounds like you've decided to do what you have to do. I mean, you're getting ready to go to Disney. You've
Yes.
spent time with your family. You seem like a fighter to me.
I am. And I keep saying that this Disney trip is my last hurrah. It's the last thing I'm going to be able to do. Because it does take a lot out of me.
Yeah.
But if I still feel good, I'm still going to want to do things. I don't want to be the type of person that's just laying in the bed waiting.
Right.
You know, I want to just go to bed one day and, you know, not wake up and not prolong it. But they do take very good care of me here.
This is probably one of the nicest places I've been.
Yeah.
As a veteran, I can't think of a better place to go, honestly. What gives you hope every day when you get up?
That it's gone. Every day that I don't feel any pain is a good day.
Yeah.
My grandbabies keep me going. I talk to my one son every day. He calls every day, so I get to talk to my grandson.
Yeah.
Just hope that it's not my time.
Right.
I don't know why it's been so long. I mean, it's been 4 years. It'll be 4 years. It is 4 years in January that I've had it. So I am, like they said, the walking miracle. Because normally people with pancreatic cancer would have gone a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's just something else that you have to do.
I guess. Take my babies to Disney World.
Are you excited about Disney? Let's talk a little bit about that, because
I'm very excited.
Disney has popped up throughout our conversations.
Yeah.
You went to Disney when you were a child, and you skipped out on the military for a little while and went to Disney, which I don't think is necessarily a bad choice. So, is Disney something that, like, is this something that you've always enjoyed? Talk to me about Disney.
When I was a kid and we got to go for the first time, it was just the most overwhelming feeling and the most joy that I had ever felt in my entire life. Like, to be there with my family and just the awe, like they say, the Disney magic.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was the Disney magic. And I started, Winnie the Pooh was my favorite character at the time. Then I went back with my parents. I was a little bit older. I was about a teenager. But each time that I've gone, I get that same feeling. I get that same magical feeling. And people may say that I'm crazy, but it's true. It's like, and it's well worth the money that you spend. Some people say they wouldn't spend that kind of money on a vacation. And I'm like, you spend that kind of money on another vacation, but you don't get all the ins and outs. Like, Disney World is just Disney World. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah. My wife cries every time we walk into the Magic Kingdom. Really? Every time.
Really?
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. But she went there with her family, and she went there with her parents. And it's hokey, right? It's the most magical place on earth. It just is. But yes, every time we go, when she walks through those gates initially, she cries. Yep. And when we drive to the hotel and we drive past the Magic Kingdom, because we're not going on that day, she cries too.
Oh, geez.
So I understand through her kind of how that feels, but I don't meet a lot of people, especially my age, that, feel that same way about going there. But this has really been a part of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And just this trip, I took my boys when they were younger, and that was just unbelievable. That's the one thing, and my kids will tell you that's the one thing that they really remember about their childhood is the Disney trip. And that's Steven saying that, and he was the youngest at the time, and he remembers that. And I know 2 of my grandbabies aren't going to remember this trip, but just to see the smiles on their faces when they see that, for me is a memory that I get to keep and get to hold on to forever, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, this trip is definitely about my grandbabies and making them happy and, you know, what they want to do. And it was their Christmas present. So,
It's amazing.
yes.
It's an amazing Christmas present.
I've been blessed enough to be able to do it.
Right.
Yep.
Well, you said your favorite character is Winnie the Pooh.
It was.
Uh-huh.
My
Do you have a new favorite character?
Well, I like the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
And I like Finding Nemo. Nemo, probably. Those are my top three.
So do you go to Epcot to the Nemo exhibit there at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
we're doing the 4-day. We're going for 5 days, but we're doing the 4-day park hopper pass.
Yeah.
So we're doing Animal Kingdom first, Hollywood Studios. Then we're taking a day off.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're doing Magic Kingdom. We're doing Epcot last. So my youngest son, you know, they say drink around the world. Everybody wants to drink around the world.
Oh yes.
He wants to eat around the world. That's his big thing.
That's what we do when we go there at Christmas time. They have their special cookies.
Okay.
And so you get a cookie pass, and every time you get a cookie from one of the places, they stamp it. And then when your stamp's full, you get a prize, which is another cookie. But so I can understand the eating around the world.
Yeah, he wants to eat around the world.
Well, good for him.
Yep. He's a big boy. He's the one that played football.
Yeah.
So he's a big boy.
So what is your favorite, like, I know it's going to be great to have the grandchildren there, but what's your favorite, like, part of, like, the Magic Kingdom when you go there? What's the one thing that you really look forward to?
Well, one of my favorite rides is the Haunted Mansion. But the biggest thing I look forward to is at night, the fireworks at night, and just the way they set the music to the fireworks. It's just amazing. And I tear up every time. I tear up every time. But I like that feeling when you're walking down Main Street. You just, I like I said, you can't describe it. It's just this magical feeling that you feel when you're walking down that street.
Like, no matter what you're going through, it doesn't even exist anymore. No. Yeah, it's like walking into some sort of machine that erases all of it.
Like in a different portal somewhere.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what about the other parks though? Hollywood Studios. What's your favorite park outside of the Magic Kingdom?
My favorite park outside that would probably be Epcot.
Uh-huh.
I like Epcot. I like Spaceship Earth. And one of the reasons I like that one is I remember going as a child, and there was a boy and a girl, and they're talking on the computers. FaceTime. Now, this was when I was a child.
Yeah.
And to think nowadays it actually came true. So I'm anxious to see if they ever change anything and see, you know, down the years if that changes into real world happenings, you know, because who would have thought back in, this was the 80s probably, maybe late 70s or 80s when they first opened, that you'd be able to talk to somebody on the computer.
Right. Or talk to people on your watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when we go to Epcot, that's the first ride we get on is Spaceship Earth. Like, we don't do anything else. We get right on that ride.
Yeah.
And there's never a line.
No.
Ever. But it's just it is a great
It's a neat ride. Yeah.
And my wife is Greek, so she likes all the Greek stuff that's in there.
Okay.
So I think that's why that's her favorite ride.
Her favorite. Okay.
But so you have a lot to look forward to going to Disney and being with your family, and that's coming up very soon.
I leave Friday morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I want to ask, so we've covered a lot. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. All right. I always like to ask because I don't know if there was something that you wanted to reserve. You know, you've lived a very interesting life. You've done a lot of things maybe that a lot of people wouldn't have done. You've got some great stories.
I do.
Some great stories.
I could sit here all day and tell you stories.
You've got an amazing family.
Yes.
So as we kind of close out our time together here, what would you like people to take from listening to this story about your life? what's a lesson or what's something that you would like them to know as we close out our conversation?
Just to never give up, to always believe in yourself and believe in your dreams. That it may get hard, but it's worth it at the end. I guess that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time out today to sit and talk with me.
Absolutely.
And to answer all my questions.
I loved it. It was enjoyable.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening to the Veterans Archives podcast, where every veteran story is honored and celebrated. Join us as we explore the rich histories and experiences of those who have served our nation. You can catch our podcasts on all major podcast platforms, as well as every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wreaths Across America Radio. At Veterans Archives, we believe your story matters. Visit our website at www.veteransarchives.org to discover more about our mission, access resources for veterans, and stay updated on upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to engage with our community. Subscribe, like, and share to spread awareness about our veterans' stories. Whether you're a veteran, a supporter, or simply curious about the profound journeys of those who have served, Veterans Archives invites you to listen in, learn, and be inspired. Join us as we continue to honor and preserve the legacies of our veterans. Remember, your story matters. Visit us online today at www.veteransarchives.org and connect with us on social media and stay informed and engaged. And as always, thank you for your support.